We need a wall. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, we need a wall. It'll stop a lot of people that we don't want in this country from coming into our country. We have strong borders now, but they're going to be much stronger.
I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle, stemming the migration to our southern border. It's not her full responsibility and job, but she's leading the effort. When she speaks for me, doesn't have to check with me, she knows what she's doing. So, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job and you're smiling, but there's no one better capable of trying to organize this for us.
Well, thank you, Mr. President.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
In a recent ABC interview, Mayorkas bragged about this fact, stating, "We have built safe mobility offices in Colombia, Ecuador, Guatemala, Costa Rica to reach people where they are so they don't have to take the perilous journey." He is not discouraging or preventing these illegals from invading our borders. He's showing them how to do it, and he's making it easier for them to come by establishing offices in those foreign countries, bringing them in and telling them how to come to the United States.
We have increased the number of refugees that we will accept from the Western Hemisphere. We have built safe mobility offices in Colombia, Ecuador, Guatemala, Costa Rica to reach people where they are so they don't have to take the perilous journey.
And the facts are that when President Trump left office, we had the lowest illegal border crossings in about 45 years. And then after Biden and Harris took over, we've had, without a doubt, the largest illegal border crossings ever.
We have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
There have been more than 1 million migrant encounters since October 1st, when our fiscal year began. It is the earliest this milestone has ever been reached.
It's a mess that this administration created from day one.
Smugglers and cartels exploiting chaos at the border.
Agents are being removed from the line. They're having to process. They're having to do all the administrative work. And who is it that's, flourishing from this? It's the drug cartels.
Cartel gunmen stroll along the riverbank, armed with rifles. It's here where cartel gunmen have repeatedly been seen wandering through the brush after crossing into the U.S. illegally.
And it's not going to stop because this administration doesn't want it to stop.
This administration just does not care about the American people. They've shown that time and time again.
That is the U.S. side of the Rio Grande.
58 terrorists have crossed the southern border.
The entire world is showing up here at our doorstep. They're crossing illegally, and they are expecting to get released here into the United States.
We are in the biggest crisis, border security crisis, that we've ever faced in the history of this country. Nobody has done worse on border security than President Biden. In all aspects of border security, he is clearly failing. He has no answers.
This is insane. The federal government has to wake up.
This isn't a joke. This isn't over-embellished. The borders are wide open.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am.
They're printing legitimate passports out and handing them out to as many terrorists as they possibly can to get them into South Central America and have them funnel up through the southern border.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own. with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
They're now saying we need open borders for the money.
Right. Well, it's all propaganda with these people. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all to hide the truth. I mean, the truth is that this is a agenda. This is Agenda 2030. This is part of a larger framework to usher in millions upon millions of people into the United States for political reasons, to permanently change the demographics of America and, have a permanent underclass and a Democrat majority for the rest of American history.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
So when President Biden took over, he declared the southwest border a non-emergency, which shut down all the developments here on the border.
Just to get this straight, this part of the fence was built by the Obama administration.
The new this is a model from the Obama administration.
And then President Trump purchased all this material, these huge piles, a mile of material here, to complete the fence over that hill. And you can see the ditch, you can see the cut. And the day that he took office, President Biden issued an order shutting down construction, and all of this material now is...
This is a very small percentage of the material still left. The majority of it, 90%, has been shipped out and sold as scrap. Salvage, yep.
Right now, what's going on is a massive, perhaps the biggest child trafficking operation in the history of the world. It's that massive.
And in case you don't want to write about it, which you should, because there can be no bigger scandal than this, we have, under this administration, 325,000 migrant children are missing. 325,000. Many of them are dead. Many of them are sex slaves and slaves of different nature.
And the stories that we heard from these people are absolutely heartbreaking. This is a humanitarian crisis because of the understanding across the globe that we now have an open border here. There are people being drawn here. They're being abused. There's all kinds of just horrific, terrible, terrible stories. And this is not a good thing for our country. It's not a good thing for these people. And it is unsustainable.
We have no idea who and what entered our country over this time. Throughout 2022 and 23, I sent agents to Texas and Arizona to count gotaways. Those sectors could not even put enough agents in the field to see what they'd missed. Simultaneously, in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border.
Murder and violent crime have declined under Biden. However, there's a very good reason why those numbers have gone down. And that's because 2 years ago, the DOJ changed the way that local police departments report the crimes to the federal government. Whereas that reporting used to be mandatory, now it's optional. And since it's optional, only 44% of all police departments reported all their crimes. Another 24% partially participated, but 32% of all police agencies didn't report anything.
We could face a coordinated terrorist attack from elements among the millions who've entered this country illegally over the last 3 years. Is this fear justified?
I am worried about the possibility of a terrorist attack in the country after October 7th.
Back over my career in law enforcement, I would be hard-pressed to think of a time where so many threats to our public safety and national security were so elevated all at once.
What did the DC snipers do? I mean,
think about that. You talk about a $500K budget, like the DC sniper shot out of the back of a car and shut down the Beltway for weeks. Imagine the systemic paralysis that would result from an October 7th style attack across 6 cities at the same time.
This is something the next president, President Trump, I hope the 47th president of the United States, is able to fix without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness. The most important issue of our time is one that the U.S. president can directly address by enforcing the existing laws. Move the military to the southern border, complete the border wall, stop funding Central America and those countries until they have actually stopped the northward flow of migrants from Venezuela to the southern border of Texas, end birthright citizenship for the kids of illegals, and stop funding sanctuary cities. That ends the incentives to be here illegally. And then, yes, it is logical. It is not racist or xenophobic. It is purely logical that if we have had the largest influx of illegal migrants in American history, then we need the largest mass deportation of those illegals in American history.
Donald Trump does not care about border security. He only cares about himself.
Refugio ahorita, mano. Como si hubiera apoyo, una vaina así. Eso está así de puro venezolano. Y puro malaconduta, así como yo que le boletica aquí. Y eso es lo que va en el metro así con tu teléfono y te dejo en chihuilancha, te suena. Quédate dormido para que tú veas. 2 añitos. Se acabó los Estados Unidos, se llamaba.
Thousands are crossing here illegally every day, and the situation is completely unsustainable. We'll step out, give you a look at the scene here. This is a mass of hundreds upon hundreds of people who have crossed the border illegally and are camped out here at the border wall, waiting to be apprehended by Border Patrol. You'll quickly notice these are all single adult men. There is not a single woman or child in this group you're looking at, and these guys are coming in from all over the world.
Thousands, 4,000.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am.